Section 1. The Zen Japan Illusion versus Reality. Do you believe Japan is a perfect, stress-free paradise? Many people in the West do. They read books by famous authors and they watch beautiful clips online. They truly believe that everyone in Japan lives a calm, spiritual life. But let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen the crowded trains in Tokyo at 8 a.m.? Have you seen the tired faces of office workers late at night? The truth is, the Western image of Japan is often a total fantasy. It is an illusion. Many people love the idea of Japan, but they do not know the real country. They see ancient temples and beautiful gardens, and they think, wow, life there must be so peaceful. But real Japanese people face intense stress every single day, just like you do. So here is my question for you today. If you have visited Japan, did the reality match your expectations? Or did you notice a dark side to this so-called paradise? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Today, we are going to break down these big myths. We will look at the real Japan, not the fantasy version. Get ready to see the truth behind the beautiful curtain. Section 2. The myth of Kaizen and Shinrin-yoku in Western corporate culture. Have you ever heard the words Kaizen or Shinrin-yoku in a corporate meeting? In the West, these words are everywhere. Business leaders love to use them, and they love to look smart. They talk about Kaizen as a magical way to improve your life. They talk about Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, as a cure for all your anxiety. They think these concepts are the secrets to Japanese happiness. But here is the funny part. Most people using these words have never actually worked in Japan. To them, Japan is a mysterious land of wisdom. They think every Japanese company is a peaceful temple of productivity. But if you talk to a real worker in Tokyo, they will laugh. To a regular Japanese person, Kaizen is not a spiritual journey. It is just a regular word. It means improvement. It is a basic business tool, and it often means working harder for no extra pay. It is not magic at all. Western self-help books love to romanticize these terms. They pack them into expensive products, and they sell them as ancient Asian secrets. It is a brilliant marketing trick, but it completely ignores the heavy burden of real Japanese work culture. The reality is not a peaceful walk in the woods. It is long hours, strict hierarchies, and constant pressure. Why do you think the West needs to turn basic Japanese words into mystical trends? Let us look deeper into this fascinating cultural misunderstanding. Section 3. Linear versus circular. The metaphysics of time and contradiction. Let us look at a major difference between the East and the West. It is all about how we view the universe. In the West, society is built on ancient Christian ideas. People generally believe that time moves in a straight line. It has a clear beginning, a middle, and a final destination. Because of this, Westerners always look for ultimate solutions. They want to fix things once and for all. They hate contradictions. To them, if something is true, the opposite must be false. It is black or white. But Japan is completely different. In Japan, time is often seen as a circle. It moves in seasons and cycles, repeating forever. There is no final perfect destination. Because of this, Japanese society is very comfortable with contradictions. They do not feel the need to fix every paradox. They accept that life is complex and constantly changing. To a Westerner, this looks like a mystery. They look at Japan and ask, how can they live with so many mixed signals? This philosophical split changes everything. Westerners want universal rules that apply to every single situation. They believe a rule must be absolute or it is useless. But the Japanese mind looks at the context first. They look at the specific situation and they adapt. They do not see this as being dishonest. They see it as being wise and maintaining peace. Why do you think Western culture is so afraid of accepting contradictions? Let us explore how this affects their view of truth. Section 4. Honne and Tatemae. Why Westerners struggle with contextual truth. To understand the deep misunderstanding of Japan, we must look at a famous phrase. You have probably heard of Honne and Tatemae. Honne means your true private feelings. Tatemae means the behavior or opinion you show to society. To a Westerner, this concept feels deeply uncomfortable. Western society is heavily influenced by philosophers like Immanuel Kant. Kant argued that lying is always wrong, no matter what the situation is. Therefore, Westerners believe that truth must be absolute and universal. Because of this mindset, many Westerners look at Tatemae and see dishonesty. They think, if you are not saying exactly what you think, you are being fake. But this is a massive cultural misunderstanding. In Japan, Tatemae is not about deception. It is an act of deep respect and kindness. It is a social cushion that protects the feelings of others and avoids unnecessary conflict. It keeps society running smoothly and peacefully. The Western worldview demands total clarity at all times. They want everyone to speak their mind, participate in public debates, and declare their stance. But Japan values the space between people. The truth in Japan is not a fixed, heavy rock. It is flexible, and it shifts depending on the specific context and the people involved. It is a delicate art of social survival. Do you think a society can function smoothly if everyone speaks their raw, unfiltered truth all the time? Let us examine how this impacts the way people are educated. Section 5. Debate versus harmony, how education shapes our voice. Why is it so hard for Westerners to understand how Japanese people communicate? The answer lies inside the classroom. In Western countries like America and Britain, education focuses heavily on individuality. From a very young age, children are taught to express their unique opinions. They have activities like show and tell, where they stand in front of the class and talk about what they love. By the time they reach high school and university, they are writing deep essays and engaging in intense public debates. To them, speaking up is a sign of intelligence and strength. But in Japan, the educational system has a completely different goal. The main focus is not on individual debate, but on group harmony and shared knowledge. Students spend a lot of time memorizing facts, dates, and formulas for massive entrance exams. They are not often asked, "What is your personal opinion on this history?" Instead, they are tested on how well they remember the accepted information. In a Japanese university lecture, it is very common for a professor to talk for an hour while students listen quietly. Because of this, Westerners often look at Japanese classrooms and think students are passive or shy. They think, why is nobody arguing? Why is nobody asking questions? But this is another big misunderstanding. Japanese students are not lazy or scared. They are practicing the art of listening and respecting the collective space. They are learning that their individual voice is not more important than the peace of the group. However, this education creates an adult world where open disagreement feels like a physical fight. Let us see how this creates a completely different world for tourists compared to the people who live there. Section 6. The silent communication. Reading the Kuuki wo Yomu. Have you ever sat in a room where nobody said a word, yet everyone perfectly understood what to do next? To many Westerners, this sounds like a scene from a science fiction movie. But in Japan, this is just a regular Tuesday. It is a vital cultural skill called Kuuki wo Yomu, which literally means reading the air. While Western communication relies almost 100% on spoken words, explicit arguments, and clear declarations, Japanese communication functions in a completely different dimension. Experts say that a massive portion of Japanese daily interaction, about 30 to 40%, is entirely nonverbal. It relies on subtle atmosphere, micro-expressions, shared context, and the ability to feel what the other person needs without them ever opening their mouth. If you always demand that people explicitly say exactly what they want, you will find Japan incredibly confusing and frustrating. Westerners often perceive this silence as a lack of confidence or a sign of secrecy. But for a Japanese person, forcing someone to state the obvious is considered clumsy, rude, and deeply unrefined. So let me drop a question for our global audience here. If you come from a culture that values loud, direct speaking, could you survive in a society where the most important messages are never actually spoken aloud? How would you adapt to a world built on invisible cues? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this silent harmony actually hides a very heavy price. Let us uncover the shadow side of this beautiful, unspoken agreement. Section 7. The double-edged sword of conformity, rules, and peer pressure. When a major global crisis hits, how does a society react? In the West, we often see massive protests, angry debates, and citizens demanding their individual freedom. Governments have to pass strict laws and use police force just to make people comply. But during recent global health events, Japan showed the world something entirely different. There were no strict lockdowns, no heavy fines, and no police forcing people to stay inside. Yet, almost everyone wore masks and businesses closed early. To a Westerner, this looks like a beautiful, peaceful miracle. But we must ask ourselves a critical question. Why did everyone follow the rules so perfectly? It was not because of a sudden wave of spiritual enlightenment. It was driven by the intense, invisible force of peer pressure, and the deep-seated fear of social shame. In Japan, if a business decided to stay open late, the government did not fine them. Instead, they threatened to publish the name of the store on national television. That was enough. The public shame of being exposed as a rule breaker is a punishment, far worse than any financial penalty. This reveals the shadow side of a harmonious society. Japanese culture teaches people to never question the existing rules. A rule is followed simply because it is the rule, regardless of whether it still makes sense in the modern world. If you stand out or if you challenge the system, society will quietly distance itself from you. It is a powerful double-edged sword. It creates incredible public safety and peace, but it can also feel like an invisible prison for the mind. How would you handle a society where the ultimate judge is not the law, but the eyes of your neighbors? Let us examine how this invisible pressure affects human mental health. Section 8. Two sides of the same coin. Mental health perspectives East and West. To truly understand a society, you must look at how it treats its hidden suffering. In the West, mental health has become a major public conversation over the last few years. Going to therapy, talking openly about depression, and taking prescription medication are widely normalized. Westerners often look at Japan and praise its low rates of public social conflict. They assume that a peaceful culture naturally leads to a peaceful mind. But this is perhaps the biggest and most dangerous misunderstanding of all. In reality, mental health issues in Japan are deeply misunderstood and heavily stigmatized. While an American might casually mention their therapist at dinner, a Japanese person will often hide their psychological struggles at all costs. If you admit you are suffering, society often treats you like a problem or a broken gear in the machine. People will quietly distance themselves from you, not out of cruelty, but because they are terrified of saying the wrong thing and making the situation worse. This creates a heartbreaking cycle of extreme social isolation. Here is the irony. Westerners love to criticize their own broken medical systems, while fantasizing about a balanced Asian lifestyle. Yet many Westerners are taking anti-anxiety medications daily, while worrying about the mental state of the Japanese. Meanwhile, struggling individuals in Tokyo are completely masking their pain, just to maintain the group harmony. They suffer in absolute silence, trapped behind a beautiful cultural facade. Why does the West refuse to see that the cost of perfect public order is often private? Psychological pain? Let us see how this massive gap affects the experience of foreigners who visit versus those who stay. Section 9, Disneyland versus Daily Grind, the Tourist Trap Explained. There is a saying that perfectly captures the foreigner experience. Japan is the greatest country in the world to visit as a tourist, but one of the hardest places to live and work. When you travel here for a few weeks, Japan feels like a giant, flawless theme park. The streets are incredibly clean. The food is legendary, and the service staff bow with deep politeness. It feels like a futuristic wonderland where everything works perfectly. You return home and tell your friends that Japan is a utopian dream. But there is a massive psychological trap hidden inside this experience. Visiting a country as a guest is completely different from surviving inside its strict corporate structure. When you become a resident and enter the workplace, the beautiful magic instantly fades. You are no longer a guest enjoying the harmony. You are now expected to maintain it. This means facing endless meetings, unwritten, social rules, and the heavy pressure to never make a mistake or stand out. The very things that make Japan convenient for tourists are paid for by the intense sacrifice of the local workers. Westerners often fail to see this boundary line. They arrive with romantic fantasies of finding spiritual wisdom or living inside an anime paradise. But the real Japan does not care about your pop culture fantasies. It demands hard work, deep conformity, and emotional endurance. Why do you think so many Westerners confuse a beautifully managed tourist experience with a perfect societal system? Let us move into our final section to uncover the real reason behind this global obsession. Section 10, Conclusion. Escape from the West or embrace the reality? So, what is the real reason behind the Western obsession with Japan? The truth might hurt, but it is deeply necessary to hear. The intense romanticization of Japan is not actually about Japan at all. It is a reflection of the deep frustration Westerners feel toward their own crumbling societies. When people face political division, economic stress, and loneliness at home, they desperately look for an escape. They create a fantasy version of Japan to serve as their perfect imaginary utopia. They use Japan to heal their own cultural wounds, but treating a real country with over 100 million people as an exotic playground for your imagination is deeply unfair. Japan is not a spiritual healing center, and it is not a fictional cartoon. It is a complex nation with beautiful strengths and profound, painful struggles. It has incredible safety, deep artistic mastery, and comforting community ties. But it also has an intense cost of mental isolation, economic stagnation, and stifling social pressure. To truly respect Japan, you must stop looking at it through a romantic lens. We must learn to appreciate Japan for what it actually is: a real, flawed, and beautifully human society. Stop searching for an ancient Asian secret to fix your modern Western life. Instead, let us look at Japan clearly, with honest eyes, and accept both its light and its shadow. Only then can we move past the beautiful misunderstandings and build a bridge of genuine cultural connection. Thank you for watching, and remember to look beyond the surface of the world around you.